Hello again, and welcome to Crime in Music. I'm your host, Brian J. Kinsley, and with me, if he were in a country band, he'd be the guy with a handlebar mustache playing the whip, whoppa, Ben Rupel.
How's it going, Brian?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How was your day today?
It was awesome. It was great. Nice little drive down here. The sun's shining. The birds are singing. Life is good.
I like it. So, for those who have never listened to us before, welcome, and for those who are listening to us again, thank you very much. We are a true crime podcast. Everything we say here has been researched to be true and factual as much as we can find it. We take the lives of musicians, musical people, people in the music industry, and basically just sort of track them as they progress and become successful. And then a lot of them make choices about crime and mischief, and we highlight those as well and put a little humorous twist on it. That's what we do here. So if you appreciate that, please tell your friends, stick around. If you want to help us even more, please go to iTunes and review us, or leave a comment or two and subscribe. If you want to help even more than that, if you're so inclined, you can go to patreon.com/crime and music and show some donation support that way. Basically, just find us at Crime and Music anywhere you want to interact with us, or if you wish to interact with me personally, I am on Twitter at Brian J. Kinsley. Let us know what you guys like to hear, if you like the show, if you have any ideas for new people or musicians, people in the music industry we should highlight, let us know.
All right, that sounds good. And who are we talking about today, Brian?
Today is a fun one. Today, bring up his picture so you can see.
I like seeing the people that we're talking about.
It does make it easier when you have a visual.
This guy looks like my dad.
Yeah,
I mean, he's about the same age.
I see.
More tattoos.
It's the double gun salute there. David Allan Coe.
David Allan Coe. All right. I like David. I used to like David Allan Coe a lot.
Are you familiar with David Allan Coe?
Well, I think growing up listening to country and listening to little, country western stuff, you had a lot of big names back in the day with Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings and the Highwaymen and Willie Nelson. David Allan Coe always got thrown in there. And it wasn't, I think, until I was in high school, somebody brought some, I don't know, again, don't know a lot about Dylan, but they brought some like, hey, listen to this David Allan Coe song. I was like, this guy, seriously? They played him on the radio and he's doing this now?
He tends to push the boundaries.
Oh my gosh.
As we'll see.
Yeah, I don't want to, spoiler alert, but that guy.
Well, here we go. David Allan Coe, born September 6, 1939 in Akron, Ohio. He's got some parents.
Hey, is this a second Ohio boy? Oh, no, that was New York. All right.
No, yeah. Rick James, for those who listened to episode 1, was from Buffalo, New York. So we're basically starting in the Midwest. I mean,
we're just going to go over one state at a time. Oh,
it's where we are.
Pennsylvania. We'll do Mr. Rogers next weekend.
We'll get into Fred Rogers. I'm sure he counts as probably a singer.
Well, he's an entertainer.
A poet. So he's born to Dorothy Ruth Wilson, and she was born in Pennsylvania. So his mother's from Pennsylvania. She has no recorded death date. So as far as my math, she's born on June 23rd, 1905. She's 113.
All right. Wow. Longevity in this family. Cool.
His dad's name is Donald Mahan Coe Jr.
I like the name Donald.
Oh, I thought you were going to go for Mahan. But
like
Donald.
Mayhem?
Well, kind of like that. Mahan. 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 Jr.
For all you Midwesterners.
Man. Of Akron, Ohio also. He's retired from the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Factory after 28 years as a tire company worker.
Yeah, that was a big thing down there back then. I mean, it still is today. I think Ohio makes a lot of tires.
That's the Rust Belt, man. That's what we do. He died August 9th, 1986 in Richmond, Indiana, on the road with David at 71 years of age. Cardiopulmonary arrest, respiratory disease, chronic obstruction pulmonary disease, according to Jeffrey B. Quillen, M.D.
All right, Dr. Brian here. So what year was that? He was 71 years old in what year?
1986.
86. That's a while ago. 71. Young man. All right.
Well, it sounded like he had some cardiac issues. So, what do you
People didn't live forever back then like they do today.
It was 1986. What are you talking about?
It wasn't that. I mean, that's a long time ago, man.
Not like they were using like rock tools and stuff, dude. He could have eaten better, probably laid off the red meat, maybe, jogged a little, even though that wasn't as cool back in the 80s.
Oh, and he's touring with his son, David Allan Coe. I don't think he was
I
clean
think, you know what?
life.
That's probably true. There's probably some partying going on.
Yo,
there.
when my son starts playing out in stadiums that host more than 20,000 people, I'm gonna probably die at 71 as well. All right.
Partying backstage. David has a brother, Jack, and now my research differs here. Which again, most of David Allan Coe and Rick James, these people who party hard, have sketchy details about their lives.
I think I would like to keep as many details sketchy about my life, regardless of how hard I party.
From what it
so
says,
his name's David and his brother's name's Jack.
Yeah, you got David and Jack Coe.
They really tried real hard. At least you know how to spell those.
It's not a stretch, but he's got 2 sons, 2 daughters, and apparently an ex-wife and a wife. So he's got a little family there. He did.
That's a weird Christmas.
His childhood, David was a product of an unhappy and broken home because he showed signs of early antisocial attitude, and he spent some time in reform school in Michigan.
What's a reform school?
Well, we'll get to that. He spent in several different facilities. You know, he'd get out, he'd do something, he'd go back in. He got a lot of trouble for car theft and possession of burglary tools, things like that.
What? I've heard that term before. Possession of burglary tools.
Oh, yeah.
I am in possession of burglary tools. Like I got a screwdriver and a saw, a drill.
Right.
I don't have a lockpick set, unless the bobby pins count. Because, I carry those.
Well, you got that hair. I mean.
No, handlebar mustache.
People have said that, though. I've actually had that from a police officer who pulled me over. I was coming out of a job where I worked in a shop, and I had tools in my car. And he said that. He's like, why do you have all these tools in your car? Like, I work in a shop. That's my job, is to fix things. I use tools. They actually called my boss to make sure, because the police officer was like, I saw this kid coming out of the back of this building, and he had this bag of tools with him.
Can we maybe one of our subscribers could research this and send us, like, what quote unquote are burglary tools? Can I see it? Maybe a screenshot, a picture? Do we have any burglars out there?
Oh, what constitutes burglary tools from a professional
I'd like to,
aspect?
Let us know what you think about burglary tools. I might have to get some.
Something on an eBay kit of like my first burglary tool set.
Can I Google this?
You can totally Google that. I'm sure.
All right, go ahead. Tell us about David Allan Coe.
Well, all right. It doesn't. I mean, yes, he had some issues with burglary tools in his possession. Whether he burgled with them or not is burgle. It just makes me think of the Hamburglar. So anyway, he went to the Star Commonwealth for Boys Reform School, which is headquartered in Albion, Michigan.
Hey, our friend Scott went to Albion, Michigan.
He did.
Dan D.
It was founded by a guy named Floyd Starr in 1913, and he had 40 acres of scrub that he wanted to dedicate to be a refuge for homeless, dependent, neglected, and delinquent boys.
That's what this guy had money to do, was like, that's noble.
It's a huge foundation, man.
I guess that's noble.
Honestly,
I don't know.
I mean,
if I had all the money in the world, that's not what I'd do.
No, that's what he wanted to do, though. Floyd Starr, it's in 55 countries around the world, and they've got tons of locations around Michigan. Now, when you search their website for David Allan Coe, absolutely nothing comes up.
They've distanced themselves as far as they can.
Yeah, in the Star Commonwealth Foundation, you will not find mention of David Allan Coe. So he spends the next 20 years in and out of several correctional facilities. If you'd like a rundown here, let me see if I can do this not in one breath, but maybe two. Age 14, he's at the Boys Industrial School. Age 16, he's at the National Training School for Boys. Age 17, he's in Lewisburg Penitentiary, Ohio.
That does not sound like a boys' training school.
Penitentiary kind of puts a little bit more of a emphasis on it. Age 18, he's at the Chillicothe Reformatory.
It's Chillicothe.
If you know that, that's good. What was that name again?
It's Ohio. It doesn't matter, Ryan.
Just to let people know, we're going to mispronounce a lot of things in this podcast.
Especially if you're from Ohio, because it really doesn't matter.
And here we go. Age 19. Is it Lima or Lima State Hospital?
Lima.
I think it's Lima, Ohio.
Like lima beans.
Right. So age 19, Lima State Hospital for observation. Age 20 to 21 and 23, he spends time in the Ohio State Reformatory.
Ohio.
Age 25, he's in the Marion Correctional Institute, 25 through 27.
Chillicothe.
I think you're right.
I think it's Chillicothe.
And then while he's in Ohio State Penitentiary, allegedly, just to highlight that word, a fellow inmate made sexual advances towards young David. And so for demanding a blowjob, David kills him.
I had no problem with that. I'm just saying, I don't want to have any sexual acts performed on me or with me that's against my will.
Especially not in the state penitentiary of Ohio.
Too bad he didn't have those burglary tools with him, because I'm looking at him right now. He could have hit him in the head with a hammer.
Well, even if he did, so he claims self-defense. Now, I'm going to put this out there. This is all according to encyclopedia.com. He claims self-defense, but he's sentenced to death.
He's sentenced to death for killing a guy for trying to have sex with him?
That's what he claims.
Huh.
So,
different era.
While he's on death row, he's reunited with his foster father, who was also convicted of murder.
I guess it runs in the genes.
Well, or not even. I thought you had to be more like moral and upstanding to be a foster parent. I guess I don't really know the system that well.
Yeah. I bet there's a lot of foster kids out there that would disagree with that statement.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know. All right, so Coe found time during his various prison stays to learn the guitar. So while he's on death row, he and his foster father write songs to occupy their time.
This guy, I'm just looking through some pictures of this guy. He kind of looks like a guy I'd like to hang out with if I was 1,000,000 years old, because he's got long hair. A couple of them, he's got some like not dreads maybe, but he just looks hardcore.
He seems like a wise old hippie. Like you would talk to him,
that is a wig.
And he
That's
would
a
say,
wig.
That's
he's wearing a wig in that picture.
But he's got the Captain Lou Albano stuff in his like goatee and beard.
Yeah, and he looks like he'd like to have some fun. You gotta appreciate that. This man, how do we already just say how old he is now? He's like,
oh, now he's in his 70s.
Yeah, I think he's still doing stuff.
He is. We'll get there.
All
right. So now, as we continue on,
I can't keep touching that screen.
No, I'm going to show you more things. You need to stay focused. All right. So David also serves time with a guy called Screamin' Jay Hawkins, and that's Screamin' Jay Hawkins. There, I'm showing Ben a picture.
He's got a bone through his nose.
Yeah, he's kind of known as, well, we'll get into it. This is a guy who encourages David to write some songs. And
is he into voodoo?
Screamin' Jay Hawkins is an American singer, songwriter, a musician, and actor. He used creepy stage props, and so he's kind of like the pioneer of shock rock and Alice Cooper and those type of dudes. You might know him. His famous song is I Put a Spell on You. I put a spell on you.
Oh, yeah. And just to give the audience here a little idea of who this guy is. He's a very dark black guy with a bone through his nose.
He's got a voodoo look.
He's holding a skull that may or may not be impaled on a stick.
Well, it's like a skull
There's
staff.
a snake around his neck, and I think he has some shiny teeth. Like, he's got some. Maybe this is bad teeth. But this guy's doing his best to look scary.
Well, he's known for that, you know. I mean,
and so this is who
David Allan Coe was serving
DAC,
time with.
Dak decides to spend his time with.
Yeah, DAC was in prison, and he happened to serve time with this guy, and he's like, "Dude, you should write some songs. I wrote some songs. Let me tell you about it." So that to get into "I Put a Spell on You," it was originally envisioned as a ballad. They wanted it to be like a nice, refined ballad, but the entire band showed up drunk at the recording session.
Nailed it.
And Hawkins himself is screaming and grunting and gurgling all the way through it. And they say he uttered through the tune with drunken abandon. And so it was no ballad. I mean, it was, quote, a raw and guttural track that became his greatest commercial success, selling millions of copies.
Yeah, I'll disagree. I think it was a lovely song.
It was. But see, here's the thing. Hawkins blacked out, and he didn't remember the recording session, so he had to relearn the song from listening to the recording of what they did the night before.
I like this guy. I'm just saying, this guy. Well, he's my spirit animal.
The label releases a second version, removing all the grunts and groans and stuff, because the first one was too sexual, and honestly, from what I hear, it's still banned in certain areas.
Certain areas of what?
Well, certain areas of the world, I guess.
All right.
Too sexual. So now, continuing with, according to encyclopedia.com, David Allan Coe's on death row, right?
Then,
Right.
Yeah.
But well, clearly he gets off of death row, right?
Well, yes, or he's still on it. He's
Alle-
not dead. He's still alive.
I'm not dead yet. Before their sentences could be carried out, him and his foster father, Ohio repeals the death penalty.
Yeah, they are a right to live state.
Is that not convenient, especially if you're there? So it's commuted to a life sentence, so he's not on death row. He takes a greater interest in playing his music, and he starts playing for fellow inmates. He starts doing shows at the prison. And the parole board likes what he's doing, and they're like, this is very productive. So he's freed in 1967.
That still feels time.
It is a long time ago. You and I weren't born yet.
No, not even close.
So he's out of prison 1967. He moves to Nashville to start his country music career. He's homeless. So what does he do? Do you know this story? No.
What? If this guy killed a man for trying to give a blowjob and now he's doing blowjobs on the street for money, I'm gonna be mad because that was not worth it.
No, he's just living in the back of a red Cadillac hearse outside of the Ryman Auditorium, which is known as the mother of or Church of Country Music, which the Grand Ole Opry used to be.
So the Grand Ole Opry was a Ryman Auditorium.
Correct.
Ryman. Rhyming auditorium.
Ryman, R-Y-M-A-N, Ryman.
You know what Ryman it sounds like? Hyman. Hey, if we don't sound a little misogynistic during this podcast, then we're not giving David Allan Coe his props.
You be you. So he would sit outside in this bright red Cadillac hearse, and he'd play songs. But his songs were all super raw and gritty about prison life, and they were generally considered too graphic. So he's out there sitting, right, and he's playing his songs and stuff, and he's hoping somebody hears him day after day after day. So 1970, he signs with SSS International Records, owned by Shelby Singleton. So
SSS?
It's actually Singleton Sound Studios.
All right. That's a good name.
That's
easy to remember.
They released 2 albums. First one was 11 cuts, blues songs, 10 of which were written and co-written by David Allan Coe.
So he's recording these in Nashville?
Yes. And then the one a lot of people have heard of is called Penitentiary Blues. He's got songs like Cell Number 33 and Walking Bum, One Way Ticket to Nowhere, things about prison life, you know.
What was Walking Bum?
Yeah, Walking Bum.
Do you know the meaning of that?
I didn't get that deep into the catalog.
All right.
Walking Bum.
I want to look that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Penitentiary Blues, discussing themes like blood tests for which veins to inject your heroin, prison time, had things like they called it hoodoo imagery and death imagery, like very macabre stuff was in this first this
That was in those first couple albums that he recorded in Nashville.
Yep. This one guy, Tom Jurek of AllMusic, described it as is thoroughly enjoyable as a rowdy, funky, and crude blues record, full of out-of-tune guitars, slippery performances, and an attitude of fuck it, let's get it done and get out.
Oh, I like the theory.
That tour they did with Grand Funk Railroad.
Hey, that's a local place, Michigan, right? Grand Funk was after Grand Trunk.
That's the rail line.
Yeah.
October 1971, he signs with Windows Publishing Company in Nashville.
They're now a computer company.
If so, he's in for a lot of money, but I don't think they're the same people. He developed a cult following, but he couldn't break into the mainstream. You know, he had trouble kind of taking these gritty prison songs and stuff, so he started writing songs for other people. So in 1972, he wrote a song called Souvenirs and California Memories, and it was sung by Billy Joe Spears.
Billy Joe Spears. Was he ever in California? I mean, is he just pulling shit out of his ass and kind of trying to make some money?
Yeah, I mean,
trying to get a new paying job in that hearse.
He can't break it himself, so he's just like, you know what? I'm just gonna cash in, start writing tunes for other people. So in 1973, he writes "Would You Lay With Me," also known as "Would You Lay With Me in a Field of Stone," sung by Tanya Tucker, becomes a #1 hit.
Tanya Tucker.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah, I mean, he was trying to make money, and he found a few people to give his songs or sell his songs to.
Well, right. In 1977, Johnny Paycheck releases a cover of David Allan Coe's song "Take This Job and Shove It."
Yeah, Johnny Paycheck. We should. I think we got a.
Oh, you'll hear about Johnny Paycheck again.
Season 2, eh?
Season 2, perhaps. Yeah. No, he just shoots a guy in the head with a 22 and sort of skims his skull. But,
Johnny Paycheck.
We'll get
David
back
Allan Coe.
We'll get to Johnny Paycheck later. That's the number one hit and David Allan Coe's like sort of most successful credit.
Well, I think back then that song, that theory, that take this job and shove it, was a thing that society back then was going to glom onto. It was a great, just one line thing because everyone was in the manufacturing automotive industry.
It was specifically about the automotive industry working on the line,
and it was coming into that time where people were beginning to feel like they were underpaid and overworked. Unions weren't as strong as they were at one point, and they were, and that song I think is probably one of the bigger high points of his writing career. What was his name again?
Screamin' Jay Hawkins.
Yeah, Google that.
If you like the voodoo, that's the hoodoo that you do so well. Fun fact about David Allan Coe: he had the country's first all-female backup band called the Ladysmiths.
He had an all backup female band?
All-female
backup band.
Yeah, called the Ladysmiths. Now, David Allan had a quote about them. He's like, quote, "Not only was it an all-girl group, but they were all from New Jersey."
What does that mean?
Well, you know those New Jersey girls.
Oh, there's got to be some context there.
there was absolutely no context. That was just his quote about the Ladysmiths.
I'm going to assume that he either was saying something good or bad about them.
Well, let me tell you this. Coe also claimed to have as many as 7 wives, and once claimed allegiance to the Mormon church to sort of justify the polygamy.
All right, if I didn't think this guy was crazy from what I knew about him, that definitely tells me he's a nut, because anybody that wants 7 wives?
Oh, dude. Well, yeah. Sorry, ladies. You don't want 7 husbands, and you know it. So don't pretend like this is just one-sided.
I'm doing good to keep track of 1 wife.
I'm sure the Mormons were super pumped too to have the allegiance of David Allan Coe in their system.
Yeah. The Mormons are looking for some good press, so they hired this guy. His name's David Allan Coe. Maybe get him on our side.
Maybe he can write a publicity piece for us.
He'll be on the spaceship.
So people noticed David Allan Coe's writing. That Tanya Tucker thing was big. And he signs with Columbia Records. He releases his first major album called The Mysterious Rhinestone Cowboy.
The Mysterious Rhinestone Cowboy.
The Mysterious Rhinestone Cowboy.
Oh, he wore a mask.
Oh, it's very mysterious. You don't even know that it's him, had I not told you.
Well, I don't think anybody knew who did. Not back then.
Well, then...
The Mysterious Rhinestone Cowboy is a cowboy dressed up in rhinestones wearing a mask.
Oh, hold on. We'll get there. And his second album, The Mysterious Rhinestone Cowboy Rides Again.
Way to be original.
So the question is, what's the deal with The Mysterious Rhinestone Cowboy? I'm sure you remember Mel Tillis.
I'm going to be honest with you here, Brian. Don't know who the hell that is.
This is Grand Ole Opry, Mel Tillis. He's Country Music Entertainer of the Year many times. He's a top 10. He's got tons of top 10 hits. The dude is a country music legend.
He does not look like he spent any time in jail.
He probably didn't. This dude's squeaky clean. So anyway, he gives David a complete rhinestone suit with the matching rhinestone Lone Ranger mask, a.k.a. the Mysterious Rhinestone Cowboy.
Yeah, this guy does not look like a cowboy at all. This Mel Tillis?
Yes.
No, he looks like a pastor.
Like we're going to get bombarded by Mel Tillis fans, I'm sure. But
no, I'm bombarded. No, Mel Tillis looks like a stand-up gentleman.
That's what I'm saying, though. But
he's got blue
the guy.
eyes and white hair. He knows how to play the guitar. He wears a nice suit. And then he gave a suit to David Allan Coe.
If you see the image, guys, if you look up Tillis, he's usually in a blue, like a powder blue suit with rhinestones all over it. He's kind of an older gentleman with white hair.
Kind of skinny. Yeah, he looks like a stand-up guy. I like this guy. I mean, I don't want to hang out with him. He doesn't look like a lot of fun, but I'll hang out with David Allan Coe a little bit.
So now, David Allan Coe, after being the Mysterious Rhinestone Cowboy, he moves to Key West, Florida.
I love Key West, Florida.
I know you do. Now, dig this, though. You'd like it even more if you lived with who David Allan Coe lived with. He lives with Shel Silverstein and Jimmy Buffett.
He lived with Jimmy Buffett?
I thought you were going to pick up on Shel Silverstein.
No. I thought I don't know a lot here, but I thought him and Jimmy Buffett got in a fight.
Oh, we'll get there.
Oh no, I knew Shel. I know, yeah, the Giving Tree and all that crap.
Yeah,
or whatever.
He's Shel Silverstein. For those who don't know, he's a cartoonist. He writes songs and children's books. He actually wrote Loretta Lynn's song "Put Another Log on the Fire." You know that one?
Oh, Shel, he did that?
Yeah, put another log on the fire.
So, do you want to hear just sidebar? You want to know
Cook
how
me
I
up
know
some
how
bacon
I
and
know
some beans.
I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s, my childhood years, and Shel Silverstein was, had a lot of children's stuff going on then, right?
Oh yeah.
I knew him from Playboy.
What?
Dude, you know Tom.
Well, that's not the point. But did he do cartoons for
He
Playboy?
did cartoons for Playboy.
I
I
did
swear
not
to
know
God
that.
he did.
That-
Or he had stuff in Playboy.
Shel Silverstein is maybe another one we send off to another podcast to do, because he's got some interesting stories from what I've researched, just being attached to David Allan Coe and Jimmy Buffett and some other things we'll get into. He comes back around later in the story.
I bet he did drugs.
I think he probably did a
I bet
lot of drugs.
Is he still alive?
I don't know.
If he's dead, can we smoke his ashes?
You might not be able to. People might have beat you to it. He was very famous.
No, he was an artist.
He also wrote for Johnny Cash. He wrote 25 Minutes to Go about the death row story.
Shel Silverstein?
Shel Silverstein. And Topper, he wrote A Boy Named Sue.
No.
Yep. Shel Silverstein.
He just turned my world up on end.
I'm just saying. So David Allan Coe's living with that dude. And Jimmy Buffett, for those, I find it hard to believe people wouldn't know, but Jimmy Buffett is the king of the parrot heads, the Margaritaville guy. Cheeseburger in Paradise.
Yeah, I'm going to have burgers tonight, by the way. Well, oh, no, I'm having chicken wings. Tomorrow night, burgers.
Burgers in Paradise. So he's living in Key West with Silverstein and Buffett.
And what year is this?
This is...
ish?
You stumped me. It's after his Rhinestone Cowboy years, so it's got to be somewhere in the 70s.
Okay. Like late 70s.
Early mid-70s.
Oh, early mid, okay.
Yep. So Silverstein plays David one of his comedy albums, and that inspires David Allan Coe to start writing comedy records. And that's sort of when Jimmy Buffett and David get into it, because Jimmy at the time accuses David of stealing the melody of one of his songs, Divers Do It Deeper. And, quote, Jimmy Buffett, "I would have sued him, but I didn't want to give Coe the pleasure of having his name in the paper."
That sounds like something you'd tell your friend just to be a dick.
That is.
Do you think they're still friends today?
Well, we'll get back to that too. It all comes back around. So if you guys want to hear Divers Do It Deeper, it's off the Changes in Attitude, Changes in Latitude record for Jimmy Buffett.
And Jimmy Buffett.
And then you can listen to David Allan Coe's early records and see if you can figure out which song he stole.
So I'm still not clear. Did Vanilla Ice ever get sued?
No, it goes din 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 din, whereas the original goes din 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 din.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So in response to one of Jimmy Buffett's songs, David writes a song insulting Jimmy Buffett on the album Nothing Sacred, which you can only purchase by mail order in 1978 through the back pages of Easy Rider Biker magazine.
See, again, a thing I think a friend would do to a friend just to be a dick. Because I'd do that to you, man. I would air our dirty laundry in the back of a biker magazine if I could.
In 1978, there's probably high readership. Jeez.
Hey, Brian Kinsley's a dick. I had to take that ad out. It was a 2-inch ad in biker magazine.
Thank God for Twitter. Okay, so now David Allan Coe releases 2 underground albums that are only available by mail order. And one of them is kind of fun. It's called Texas Moon. And on the cover, they've got a picture of the entire band, kind of Donald Ducking it, like nobody's wearing pants, and like just an ass shot, hence Texas Moon.
Ah, so these are all mail order albums only.
Correct.
So you have to send like money in,
clip
out a thing in the back of a magazine.
In the back of a magazine.
Like, right. There's X-ray glasses, David Allan Coe stuff. And then make a hoverboard out of a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, well, whatever. Yeah. X-ray specs, Sea Monkeys, David Allan Coe.
Sold in the back of Boy's Life.
Boy's Life. I was just thinking that too. Like, I don't remember that in the subscription. But in that album in 1979, there was actually a note that came with your album that said, Jimmy Buffett doesn't live in Key West anymore.
Oh, He's just giving Jimmy Buffett the shit.
He's trying to. Well, I mean, imagine it's like your ex-roommate, so you know a bunch of shit about this dude, and you're just poking him and poking him and poking him.
If it was me and about David Allan Coe and you're my buddy Jimmy Buffett, I'd be like, hey, I'm gonna do this album. I'm gonna sell in the back of a magazine, and every fucking one I'm gonna put in a little letter in it where I'll make fun of you. And I would probably reach over, hit you a little bit, and then like, all right, how do you want your steak cooked here?
Yeah, right.
I'll give you a beer. That'd be fun.
What a douche. Yeah, that's all I'd look. Why are you being a douche? Come on, man. Then everyone that comes out just churning out more. I'm like, dude.
So it makes you wonder, though, are these people really, they hate each other, or are they just having fun and doing stupid shit?
No, we'll get to it. I mean, that's the phrase of the day. Jimmy Buffett comes back around in David Allan Coe's story. So, 1982, he releases another independent record, oddly called Underground Album. So, it's an underground album called Underground Album.
What was the last one called?
Well, he had one called Texas Moon.
Oh, that Texas Moon, but that was kind of underground too.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
Nothing Sacred was his first underground album.
Okay.
So, the Underground Album contains his most controversial song, and you've been waiting the whole time this podcast has been started to get up to it, because this is, if you're into it, you know what's going to happen with David Allan Coe. Oh boy, he writes a song called Fucker, but it's a song about his girlfriend who leaves him for a black man.
Now David Allan Coe's successful at this point in his life.
I would say so.
I mean, he's making money. People know his name.
Oh, he's a very popular songwriter.
He's writing songs for class like #1 singing.
Mega hits.
Mega hits. And he decides. I mean, can you imagine a musician doing this today?
Well, here's the kicker: there's two of them. One, Shel Silverstein is the co-author of that song, and two, he actually catches a racist label for writing that song.
I can't. The audacity of society.
I know. So David Allan Coe responds, he goes, quote, anyone who hears this album and says I'm a racist is full of shit.
And what was the name of the song?
Fucker.
All right. He used the N-word, I'm just saying.
Yeah, and to take a lyric from that song, to think I licked the pussy where that big black dick had been.
I don't think any of us have, past the age of 30, woken up any morning and thought that exact same thing.
I know.
No, Brian?
No. Now, see, here's the thing, though. David Allan Coe had another part, he's like, my drummer, Kerry Brown, he's black. And he's married to a white woman. And so is Kerry Brown's dad, Clarence Gatemouth Brown, also married to a white woman. And he was black. So apparently David thinks he has a hood pass.
I got a black friend. It's okay.
That's pretty much what he's saying. He's like, no, I have a black friend, and his father's black, so double black to you.
My sister's gay.
I'm
good. We're
it's
good.
Okay.
I can make fun of everybody now and be a dick. All right, good for David Allan Coe.
He's claiming that he's.
What'd
he's
you call
good.
that? A hood pass?
A hood pass. Like, that's, like they let him fly on it, I guess. Of course, he does hang out in Ohio, in Key West, so I don't quite know the black populations there.
Well, I mean, Ohio's pretty. I mean, there's a lot of black people live in Ohio. I don't know about Key West. I was on a boat in the middle of the water one time, drunk. That's all really I know about Key West. There weren't a lot of white people around.
No, see, when I was in Key West, I was surrounded by white people and Hispanics. So, but whatever.
Jeez, Brian.
This took a racial turn. Yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Of course not.
So in his later years, to catch up with David Allan Coe, because you'd figure now he's getting into his 70s and he's getting better. All right, in his later years, in the 1980s, he has a resurgence with 2 top 10 hot country singles, The Ride, which is a song about a drifter who meets the ghost of Hank Williams, and one called Mona Lisa Lost Her Smile.
Those are popular songs. I mean, those have been around for a while now.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And then in the 90s, he pairs up with the Pantera guitarist Dimebag Darrell.
Huh.
If you don't know, Pantera is it's Spanish for panther. So
it means the Nino.
I am the Nino. No, Pantera is a heavy metal group that plays heavy metal and rock music.
Well, they used to.
They do. Though him and Dimebag Darrell team up and they work on some album together because Dimebag was kind of like raw and aggressive in metal, and David Allan Coe is like raw and aggressive in country. So they made what they call a metal country album. It actually came out after Dimebag sort of passed away.
So he sort of passed away.
Well, he's dead, but I didn't want to be cold about it because he
Did
didn't
you
do
say
anything
cold?
wrong here.
Did you say cold?
I did. Oh, dude.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So Coe tours around after that stuff. He tours with like Kid Rock. He even wrote a song on one of Kid Rock's albums called Single Father. He's collaborated with Dimebag Darrell. We were talking about Vinnie Paul. He's doing video appearances in Johnny Cash's video, God's Gonna Cut You Down.
And this is kind of recent stuff. I mean, these are.
Yeah, this was the 90s.
Yeah, there's reason.
Right. But unfortunately, 1990, his contract with Columbia Records comes to an end. So he's kind of out of a job. He's got a bad divorce. The IRS seizes his Key West house. In comes Jimmy Buffett, because Jimmy Buffett won't return his phone calls. Friend check. And
Friend check.
He's tossed out on the streets. So what is a man to do? He lives in a cave in Tennessee.
A cave in Tennessee.
He lives in a cave in Tennessee, allegedly.
He looks nothing like Fred Flintstone. Who did not live in a cave. He had a rock house. So he got a divorce, nasty divorce, gave all of his money. And do you think there's any part of him that started to regret some of the decisions he might have made in choosing some of the song lyrics that he recorded, whether they were under what was the term we called some of the albums? Underground albums?
Underground or outlaw country.
And who was the recording studio that wouldn't re-sign him? Columbia?
Columbia.
Yeah, I'm sure Columbia's like, all right, when is it? Is he almost over? He used the N-word.
Well,
can't have
now,
this guy.
See, that's what I'll just briefly go ahead. Somewhere in like before 1997, there's a quote from his website from David Allan Coe. It says, "Over the years, people have gotten the impression that I'm prejudiced. Sure, I have this thing about controversy, but I don't dislike anybody because of their skin color, sexual beliefs, or whatever."
I'm gonna throw this out here right now. I think the guy was a little racist.
A little bit.
A little racist.
A little bit.
Maybe didn't like women that much either.
A little misogynistic.
Kind of a dick.
He was kind of a Southern traditionalist, maybe we say.
I've heard a few of his songs that may have not fit into mainstream perspective.
No. There's some albums out there that are strictly for private listening only.
Which you can find on YouTube, by the way.
Oh, for certain.
Oh, yeah.
It's just out there. So, okay, you'd think that David Allan Coe is done having his issues with being incarcerated and in and out of prisons and jails and stuff. But we get to June 2008. He's at the Prairie Meadows Racetrack and Casino in Altoona, Iowa. And Coe's playing the slots, right?
Mm-hmm.
He hits the jackpot.
Big money.
Hits big money, right? And he tells his girlfriend, well, now it's his wife, his second wife, you wait here for the guy to come for the payout, and he just keeps moving down the line playing the slots machines, right? Well, workers come and tell his girlfriend that if you watch the security video, Coe's the guy who pushes the button, so he has to be there to collect the thingy. And so they go to find Coe, right? And he's trying to give this girl his ID. And some young security guard comes up there and just gets in his face. You know, he's hard of hearing at this point. He's like 72. And so he's like, what? I'm trying to give her my ID. And he tries walking away. He's like, this young security guy's harassing me. I'm going to walk away. And then all of a sudden, two other guys in uniforms walk up and they corner Coe. And he's like, he gives him the hand. He's like
hand in the face?
Well, they do it to Coe. They try to like, hey, stop. And he just walks around them. And so they claim he was trying to like not like disorderly conduct and like disobeying a direct order and stuff. So these two guys wrestle him to the ground.
He's 70?
And pin him down. Yeah, he's 70 years old. So that's what happens in Iowa. I can just imagine David Allan Coe fighting as he's going down. Just some crazy redneck cowboy.
That's like old man strength going down.
Fuck you. Like, well, it took two full sheriffs to take him down, right? So all the charges are dropped, though, in 2008. Because Coe filed a countersuit. Because it's all on video, man. Like, I watched the security camera tape. He didn't do anything. He's trying to give his ID to this girl. and this young dude comes up and he's like, says like Coe himself in an interview says, the guy told me to stand up, boy. And he's like, who you calling boy? How big are grown men where you come from? And then
Who you calling boy?
Then he sits down and starts playing the machine again, and the young security guy just kind of gets in his face, so Coe walks away. But dude, so now David has to walk with a cane, and he sits down to perform, and that's pretty much.
Oh, he got injured in this altercation?
He's claiming he got some pretty bad banged up, and so everybody drops charges. So the casino drops charges. David Allan Coe drops charges.
Well, what? How much money did he win?
They did not
like
issue,
10 grand, 5 grand, $100? Either way, I'm getting in a fight for any of those amounts.
Well, in a casino, I think in a slot machine, I think they can only pay you out like $1,000 out of the machine, so it had to be like over 1,000 to write them a ticket, right?
And there's probably tax deals where whatever the amount is, you got to pay tax on all that stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the final bit I have, September 2015, David Allan Coe pleads guilty to tax evasion, and he stands to face 3 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000.
See, that was my first thought when you're talking about that casino winning. It was that he didn't want to claim it. Right. I mean, just like, hey, yo, you say you did this because I don't want to claim it. You claim this.
He goes to federal prison for 3 years so he doesn't have to claim like $1,200 on a slot machine payout.
Maybe he didn't know that there was a video camera, which you're in a casino, whatever. We've all seen Ocean's 11. But maybe that's, he just didn't want to claim it. So he had that girl try to claim it. And that's why he got in that altercation with those people. That's how I'd do it.
That's a rough one, man. I don't know, man. David Allan Coe, he seems like a very unique individual. Definitely an artist. He's got that whole tortured past thing, and he seems to very much be able to express himself. He did not get the credit. He wrote a ton more songs that we didn't even talk about. We focus on crime here, so that's not what we were doing. But he's credited with writing or co-writing like a bajillion of these country songs. Like, people claim him. Some dude I was reading about, and feel free to write it up here, people on Twitter, but somebody claimed him as writing the perfect country song. And that's where that quote comes from. He has a quote about where he's like, no, because a perfect country song would include like this and this and this and this. And he writes some words about picking up his mom when he gets out of jail, but she gets hit by a train. So
well, that was a song that we learned back in the day. I mean, playing old Waylon Jennings, old Johnny Cash stuff.
He hung around with the legends, man. I mean,
I was drunk the day my mom got out of prison, and I had to pick her up in the rain. You know it, Brian.
Oh, you're doing fine.
No, I got it.
Oh, yeah, did the chorus. Something you had to nail the train.
Something about a pickup truck.
Yeah, I'm a pickup truck.
Got run over by the damn old train.
Ugh.
No, David Allan Coe, he's kind of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde sort of personality because he wrote a ton of just country gold songs, sang a lot of them, sold some of them, let people borrow a few of them, and then had that sort of that Mr. Hyde personality where he went and did some terrible songs. I mean, they're bad. They're like listening to underground, like they're using, it was weird. I feel like that he should have known even back then, saying some of the stuff he was saying in those underground stuff, it was going to sink his career.
He seemed like he was smart enough to know, because again, that controversy quote that he was talking about, he knew that's what was going to bring him attention, because apparently he didn't have, like, I guess I would call it market appeal. If you look at the guy, he's not like a Hank Williams. He's not like a country music stereotype, you know. He looks like an outlaw biker. He's wearing ripped jean vests, and he's got like braids in his beard and his mustache.
That's interesting. I mean, who knows if he would have stuck with the mainstream stuff, would he been bigger or smaller than he is today in rock history?
I think he could have continued with just being a music writer. Like, he could have been probably like a top music writer for the rest of his life and made shit tons of money doing that. Like,
yeah.
But he wanted to perform. He wanted to be in front of people. He wanted to push buttons and, you know.
On the fame.
Yeah, pretty much.
He wanted to be on the stage.
I agree.
And to use the N-word and be, some of the songs he had, man, were so.
But honestly,
how does he claim that they weren't No, I'm not being racist, not being against women, but they were. Every one of those songs are terrible.
Well, it's shock rock country, man. I mean, that's what Screaming Jay Hawkins was the same thing. That guy had like the first dude to put like crosses and caskets and like weird macabre shit on stage to freak people out. So they realized you could get people with like shock value, like no one had done that before. That was new. And now we see it and we go, oh, you're just trying to do shock value. Well, these are the guys who invented that. So it was new for everybody's like, oh my God, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah, I guess I see that aspect, but when you created that shock value song, album, what have you, there wasn't a real great medium to disseminate that information. I mean,
no,
you had to order your shit from back of magazines.
Easy Rider Biker magazine.
Yes,
what better distribution route than that?
That's not good. People were not going to carry this at stores.
No.
But maybe it gave him some publicity.
But that's why I said I think he views himself as an artist. I think he's trying to create these works and trying to just like, look what I did sort of thing. I mean.
So he's still alive today?
I believe so. Yeah, he's not dead yet. I'm not dead yet.
I wonder where he's living at.
I do not know.
Huh. I bet he's in Ohio.
I'm imagining he is in Ohio.
He didn't go very far from Ohio.
Depending on how this court case works out, he'll be in Ohio State Penitentiary for the next 3 to 5 years. That'd put us up to now to 2018.
So he's still battling. He's still battling charges.
I couldn't find the conclusion to the trial, so yeah, he's in the thick of it still.
And not that long ago, he was hanging out with Kid Rock
on tour with Kid Rock, writing songs for Kid Rock's albums.
And Kid Rock's, I mean, we all know where he's got a lot of Confederate flags flying at his concert, but he's not blatant.
I'm pretty much sure when you have Confederate flags flying, that's blatant.
There's differing opinions on there.
There's a whole state that has a Confederate flag in their state flag, so.
Yeah, it's Hawaii.
Oh, I think it's Georgia.
It's not Hawaii.
But that's fine. All right, we're going to end this one. If you like what you heard, if you didn't, leave a review at iTunes, please. If you want to help us more than that, go to patreon.com/crimeinmusic or get in touch with us at Twitter, Crime in Music, or contact me directly at Brian J. Kinsley. And let me know what you think. Let us know if you have other people we should be looking into for crimes that happen in the music industry. Just say hi or tell us anything. Drifting off. Cut.
Drifting off.